Hey, welcome to day 253. We're going to spend the day talking about Daniel 10 through 12. And if you don't have questions, then you're not reading the same thing I am. Daniel is an awesome book to read, especially in this day and age. So let's get at what we got to do. And I make no apologies for how long a couple of these videos have been, because it's extremely important that we take a little time to make sure we get it. If you're just reading this in general, you're not going to get the most important part out of this. So I hope you got your notes ready, and I'll try to do this as fast as possible. But this is probably some of the most important reading that we do in this time frame of reading. Okay, we're going to be in 10, 11, and 12. So let's talk about the Jesus sighting that we have. Daniel 10, 5 and 6. It says, I looked up and saw a man dressed in linen clothing and a belt of pure gold around his waist. First of all, he saw a man. He's already seen the glory of God. So this is a man that he sees. He's dressed in linen clothing with a belt of pure gold around his waist. His body looked like a precious gem. His face flashed like lightning, and his eyes flamed like torches. His arms and feet shone like polished bronze, and his voice roared like a vast multitude of people. So, Jesus is God, but yet they are separate. Jesus is the Son of God, okay? But he is also God. And remember, he has not come to earth yet. This is in the Old Testament. And we're going to get back to this idea of Christ in a minute. But I'm also going to read verse 11. And the man said to me, Daniel, you are very precious to God, so listen carefully to what I have to say to you. Stand up, for I have been sent to you. Verse 16. Then the one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. Verse 18. Then the one who looked like a man touched me again, and I felt my strength returning. And then I have verse 19 here. Don't be afraid, he said, for you are very precious to God. Peace, be encouraged, and be strong. So Jesus, this is Jesus saying to Daniel, because the angels don't look like this. Angels are pretty splendid and glorious in appearing, but this is not an angel. This is a man. There's a difference. We don't go to heaven and become angels. That's not what is happening. Okay, so whoever's saying those things needs to read a little bit further. Okay, and when we get to Revelation, we can mention the differences of what angels are doing, what men are doing. Okay, all right. So that's Jesus, and then so why is he delayed? Why is Jesus, who's God, why is he delayed? So let's read Daniel 13. This is what it says. But for 21 days, the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, an angel, one of the archangels, came to help me. So Jesus needed help. Is that what it really means, that Jesus needed help? And I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now, here's the thing. Jesus is controlling, I don't want to say fighting. He is making sure the spirit prince of Persia is doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not like Christ isn't in control and can't defeat it. No. There's a plan. And so he isn't going to leave and then the spirit prince of Persia does whatever he wants. He has Michael come take his place, because Michael, being an angel, is definitely strong enough to take care of that spirit prince. Remember, there's war going on in heaven with the angels. And there's obviously going to be stronger angels than another. So Michael is a very strong angel. Christ calls him, says, hey, take care of this. I'm going to talk to Daniel myself. Keep watch over this, because I'm going to go do something. All right? So that's a good thing to look at, because you can stumble and fall over that thing. So let's read Matthew 28, 18, and that should sound familiar to you, as of course I did not mark it. Matthew 28 and 19. And you should kind of remember what that verse is. It's the Great Commission. But let's read 28:18. It says, Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. At that time, because he gave his life for all of us and defeated death and the grave and Satan himself. He was given the keys to heaven and earth. He is the ultimate authority. In the Old Testament, Jesus has not done those things yet. It's not like Jesus is an angel waiting to become God's son. No, that's not what it means. It's just like when Jesus was here walking on earth. He was limited in some of his power on purpose to experience the things that we experience, to show that it can be done, to show that, he is perfect and can live a perfect life. So he's given the power and authority at that time. Not that he wasn't given power and authority then, but it's different when he defeats death. He defeats the grave, okay? So it's kind of a wishy-washy type of thing you're trying to get your mind around. He is God, and he is in ultimate control. But also he is the Son of God. He is a separate entity, and he allows himself to be limited when he's here on earth as a man. And we're talking about Daniel, so he's a man. Okay, so it's Jesus, but he is in ultimate control of everything. I hope that explains it to you. He still has the power. So 11:1, it's at the very end of chapter 10. It says, I have been standing beside Michael to support and strengthen him since the first year of the reign of Darius the Mede. So that explains that he is really in control. It's not that he's fighting and hoping that he can maintain it. He is standing beside Michael and making sure he's taken care of. And at the same time, he's holding the spirit prince of Persia, meaning Christ is also everywhere. Okay. Daniel 11:35, it says this, and some of the wise will fall victim to persecution. In this way, they will be refined and cleansed and made pure until the time of the end, for the appointed time is still to come. Okay, so you have all these things, kings of the north and king of the south, and that's all history leading up to Christ and stuff. And then we finally hit possibly the Antichrist, but the persecutions, these kings lead up to Rome being in control, and persecutions happen. Christ is eventually going to come on the scene, and you have the Colosseum, and they chase after, and they kill hundreds of thousands of Christians in the Colosseum, or thousands, whatever you want to say. But their whole goal was to kill as many as they could find, Jews and Christians alike, okay? And they're persecuted, all right? Persecution is going to happen. 11:36, it says, the king will do as he pleases, exalting himself and claiming to be greater than every god. The Antichrist is the one who does this. Even blaspheming the God of gods. He will succeed, but only until when? The time of wrath. So all of this I'm putting into my lists of, is it tribulation? Is it the rapture? Is it the judgment seat of Christ? Is it Armageddon? When are we talking about this? Well, the time of wrath is tribulation. Those are the things you need to be adding to your list. So this is the Antichrist that's fitting into this. For what has been determined will surely take place. Verse 37, he will have no respect for the gods of his ancestors, or for the God loved by women, or for any other god. For he will boast that he is greater than them all. Okay? So if we look at Revelation 13, and I got a few different verses in here to look at. 13, 5, and 6. I think this is right. Then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against God, and he was given authority to do whatever he wanted for 42 months. That's 3.5 years, by the way. Keep that in the back of your mind. 3.5 years. And he spoke terrible words of blasphemy against God, slandering his name. So this is in chapter 13. This is halfway through the tribulation time. Remember, there's a false peace for 3.5 years in tribulation. And then that false peace is, he turns on it and chases after God's people. But that's what it's saying here. He will have no respect for the gods of his ancestors. And instead of these, he will worship the God of fortresses, a God his ancestors never knew, and lavish on him gold, silver, precious stones, and expensive gifts. Claiming this foreign god's help, he will attack the strongest fortresses. He will honor those who submit to him, appoint them to positions of authority, and dividing the land among them as a reward. So 10 tracts of land or 10 kings. He defeats 3 of them. He's taking, he's the one who decides what's going on the earth at that point in time. So we talked about the time of the end. Let's talk about that again. Because anytime it says the time of the end, the time of wrath, we need to pay attention because that's the tribulation time that we're talking about. Verse 40, then at the time of the end, the king of the south will attack the king of the north. The king of the north will storm out with chariots, charioteers, and vast navy. He will invade various lands and sweep through them like a flood. He will enter the glorious land of Israel, and many nations will fall. But Moab, Edom, and the best part of Ammon will escape. He will conquer many countries, and even Egypt will not escape. He will gain control over the gold, silver, and treasuries of Egypt, and the Libyans and Ethiopians will be his servants. Okay. But then the news from the east and north will alarm him. He will set out in great anger to destroy and obliterate many. He will stop between the glorious holy mountain and the sea, and will pitch his royal tents. But while he is there, his time will suddenly run out, and no one will help him. Okay, so we're talking about near Armageddon time of what that is. And it's very confusing when it has all these other kings that are in there, but those are all you can go through history and see how those play out. But the point is that he is the one, the Antichrist is the one that worships a different God, and then Satan comes on the scene and dwells him and takes care of business. And then you also need to understand there's a timing to this. This isn't happening in a moment of a day. These are time periods where it takes time to do things. Take your army. Look how long it takes our army to go from here over to Iraq. It takes time to move things. Over there, everybody's there. He will annihilate those people, and he will go to war against different people. If you remember, in Revelation chapter 6, as I watched the Lamb broke the first of the 7 seals, there's 21 judgments, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. And we're coming back to that in a minute. But the first seal is broken, the first judgment. And what is it? I looked up and saw a white horse standing there. Its rider carried a bow, and a crown was placed on his head. He rode out to win battles and gain the victory. That doesn't happen in a moment. Only Christ does that in a moment. This is the Antichrist who is going to wage war and cause wars and master of deception and really cause chaos throughout the whole world during the tribulation time. Time of the end. Greatest anguish, 12:1. At that time, Michael the archangel, who stands guard over your nation, will arise. Then there will be a time of anguish, greater than any since nations first came into existence. But at that time, every one of your people whose name is written in the book will be rescued. Rapture. Or is that Armageddon? Finally, Christ comes in and saves everybody. So, is it the rapture? I put down it's the rapture. So, let's connect all of this. Many people will be persecuted and martyred. Okay? They're going to be martyred. The rapture is going to happen. People are being martyred now. They were martyred then. All those people in the Colosseum, they were martyred. All the people have been martyred for their faith. Okay? 12:10. Oh, I'm sorry, 12:10. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to say it since we're talking about it. Many will be purified, cleansed, and refined by these trials, but the wicked will continue their wickedness, and none of them will understand. Only those who are wise will know what it means. Okay, so many will be purified and cleansed. These are being martyred. not just now and in the Colosseum and throughout the ages, but in the tribulation time. So this says, but at that time, every one of your people whose name is written in the book will be saved. If your name is written in the book, you're going to be raptured. Okay? And yet there's still going to be people, Jews, and going to be Christians in the tribulation that become Christians that are going to be saved at Armageddon. You know, you're going to be going through Armageddon. It's the greatest time of anguish ever seen. And they're going to be saved, not raptured. They're saved because Christ comes and saves them on the earth. When Christ comes, he doesn't take them back up to heaven. He comes and saves his people and stays on earth for 1,000 years. There's a difference between, in a moment, in a blink of an eye, you're going to be up in heaven, versus Christ, everyone on earth seeing Christ come on the clouds of heaven again with all of us behind him, going and saving his people, going into Jerusalem and to Armageddon and defeating the Antichrist. That is not in a moment. There's a big difference between the rapture and the second coming. And saving people in a moment, taking them up out of their graves, and bringing people with him to save the other people that are in war and being oppressed during the tribulation. Big difference. Okay? So now, so that was the martyrdom stuff. Let's stick with that for a second. Revelation 6, 9 through 11. Chapter 6, 9 through 11. So when the Lamb broke the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of all who had been martyred by the word of God and for being faithful in their testimony. So the souls of people being martyred are going to be under the altar in heaven. Okay? They shouted to the Lord and said, O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you judge the people who belong to this world and avenge our blood for what they've done to us? Then a white robe was given to them, each of them, and they were told to rest a little longer until the number of their brothers and sisters, their fellow servants of Jesus, who were to be martyred, had joined them. So it's talking about more people going to be martyred. This is the fifth seal. So we know people are going to come to Christ in the tribulation, come to be Christians, and they're going to be martyred in the tribulation time. So I'm going to read Daniel 12:13. So Christ says, as for you, go your way until the end. You will rest, and then at the end of the days, you will rise again to receive the inheritance set aside for you. So Daniel is going to be raised from the grave. Okay, so these are rapture. That's a rapture passage. And again, God can decide who gets raptured and who doesn't and when it happens. But it is at a moment. But he's telling them to rest. And this is saying during the tribulation time, those souls are still waiting for other martyrs to show up. Okay, and that's not the rapture that's going to happen there. These people are going to come back with Christ, including us, and rescue the other people. All right? So it's a wonderful view. When we get in Revelation, hopefully this starts to make a little more sense to you. Times, time, and half a time. 12, 5, and 5 through 7. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing on opposite banks of the river. One of them asked the man dressed in linen, who was now standing above the river. This is Christ now, above the river. And they asked him, how long? And this is the cool thing. These are the angels, okay, talking to Christ. Of course, I don't know if they're angels. It could be Moses. It could be men, two men. Doesn't say anything here about if they're men or not. But it doesn't matter. They don't know is my point. The angels in heaven and all the people martyred and all the people that are there now do not know the time of the end. And so these two people are asking, or angels are asking Christ, how long will it be until these shocking events are over? The man dressed in linen who was standing above the river, raised both hands toward heaven and took a solemn oath by the one who lives forever, saying, it will go on for a time, times, and half a time. 3.5 years. When the shattering of the holy people has finally come to an end, all these things will have happened. Okay, the shattering of the holy people. So there's false peace in the 3.5 years, but it doesn't mean there's not deception and trying to search out the world to find these people and kill them. He takes his gloves off at 3.5 years, and the last 3.5 years, he's chasing after them openly. It's kind of like today, where people are openly saying bad things about us. Okay? So you have the 3.5 years. The whole tribulation is a time of war. We saw that in the first of the seals being broken. Okay? Now I want to talk about in Daniel 12:10 again. It says, many will be purified, cleansed, and refined by these trials. But the wicked, and this is important, the wicked will continue in their wickedness. Okay, so wicked people just do wicked things. But it says this, and none of them will understand. Are you telling me we're not near that now? You can talk to your blue in the face. You cannot talk to somebody. They think you're off your rocker and that up is down and down is up. Justice is perverted. We are getting close to these things. So I want to read Daniel 12:4. But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Seal up the book until the time of the end, when many will rush here and there and knowledge will increase. People always say, what are the signs? Well, I started another list, and I actually added this to the list. People will rush here and there, and knowledge will increase. The signs really are for the second coming, but Christ, even in Matthew 24, talks about the things that are going to happen, but the end won't come immediately. He's talking about signs leading up to the tribulation and during the tribulation. There's really not signs before the rapture, but this doesn't just all of a sudden start to happen. Things start to occur before the tribulation time, leading up to it. So people will rush here and there, meaning we are busy and we are traveling all over. You can get anywhere in the world you want to get to pretty quickly, and many, many people do it. Knowledge will increase. All you have to do is look at when the computers were first built and how quickly a room that was filled to be one computer is now, I don't have my phone with me, the size of this, which is by far many times stronger than that computer that was in that room. You can order anything you want, buy anything you want. You do not need cash. So how do you decide who's right or wrong? You need something, a chip, a mark to separate you. Those are the signs we are looking for. There's really no signs other than the signs that are leading up to the second coming of Christ. But again, those are foreshadowed beforehand. The shadows of the things to come we are seeing. Okay, last thing, I know this is long. You read about the 1,290 days and the 1,335 days. If you grab your calculator, which is why I have this here, and you divide that by 360 or 365, back then 360 days was their year, okay? Either way, you get 3 years, 210 days, or 3 years, 195 days. Okay, so 3.5 years. And then 1,335 days. You have basically 3.5 years. So the difference in the 1,290 and the 1,335 is 45 days, which is obviously between 1,290 and 1,335, that's 45 days. Anyway, you calculate, it's 45 days. So what is happening, and I just want to briefly, I'm going to end with this. So we get into Revelation 16:12. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great Euphrates River, and it dried up so that the kings from the east could march their armies toward the west without hindrance. The sixth bowl judgment is the 20th judgment. It's near the end of the tribulation, which means there's time left. 45 days, who knows? Okay? And as we get into Revelation, we'll start to see there's more references to 3.5 years, 1,260 days. And then we have these things, 1,290, 1,335. They're all around 3.5 years. You got to understand there's a time that takes place of this. And what is that sixth bowl judgment? So 3 evil spirits looked like frogs, leaped from the mouths of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet, Antichrist, his false prophet, and Satan himself. They are demonic spirits who work miracles and go out to all the rulers of the world to gather them for battle against the Lord on the great judgment day of God Almighty. Verse 15, look, I will come as unexpectedly as a thief. Blessed are all who are watching for me, who keep their clothing ready, so they will not have to walk around naked and ashamed. The 6th bowl, and the demonic spirits gathered all the rulers of their armies to a place with the Hebrew name Armageddon. The 20th judgment is Armageddon. You still have time left, and you have the 21st judgment after that, which the 7th bowl, angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a mighty shout came from the throne of the temple saying, it is finished. And then it goes on, and horrible things happen, and it talks about Babylon being destroyed, and of course Armageddon, all the armies are destroyed in a moment. And it just goes through and describes all of the things. And you're talking, it probably is 45 days of people, blessed are those who make it to the 1,290 days, but really blessed are those people who make it 1,335 days. Meaning, you made it this far, and Armageddon happens, and now you get to see the destruction of Babylon, and you're there for 45 days or so watching all of what Christ is doing, and wow, how blessed you are to be witness to those things. That is Daniel 10, 11, and 12. That's day 253. I hope you took great notes, and I hope it's starting to make some sense to you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.